Hey guys, what's up? Son of Chelsea back here again for another video, and this is going to be a discussion video, something that has been on my mind for a few weeks now. I've been meaning to make this video, so I thought let's sit down, let's do it, let's discuss it. And as you can tell by the title, it's going to be about youth, the Chelsea youth, and how to utilise them, because currently I don't think Chelsea are utilising our youth system. I've said on this channel that I feel that our youth system is criminally underutilised by our club. The potential we have within our youth system, the players we have grown over recent years that are not featuring in our first team and really are only being used to either run down the clock in a game against United or as a way of bringing in more money into the club by selling them off after sending them out on loan and never featuring in the first team. Now, I think if we're going to talk about long term, I personally just want to talk about players that currently are featuring in the first team. Now, long term, Chelsea in the last 10 years, really you can say, have not really brought through any players. There's really no example. John Terry is always the one that's touted, and of course he was before the Abramovich era, so pretty much other than John Terry, no player has come through. It was quite clear the club had this philosophy when Roman came in that for the first 10 years he wanted to win trophies, he wanted to bring some of the best players to Stamford Bridge. People quite easily forget that when he came to Chelsea he did say, but in about 10 years time I want to make this club, I want to get to a stage where this club is buying and selling as much as, and wants to make even with this club in terms of transfers. And to be honest, we have done that in recent years. If you look at the change in philosophy within transfers, with the fact that now we're buying and selling at the same time, something that apparently has been a problem with Jose Mourinho and maybe led to him leaving the club. So there has been some sort of change in philosophy. But for me, one thing that really seriously needs to change for Chelsea, if we are thinking long-term as a club, which I still don't think we are in truth, is the youth system. The way we have one of the best youth academies in world football, it baffles me how we're not using it to strengthen our first team. We're using it as a system of just another way to get money into the club. Yes, the 33 players out on loan. Now, for me, I think this is a bit ridiculous and it's quite obvious, but sure, you're always going to have players out on loan. Now, sure, some of those players are never going to be good enough for Chelsea. That's pretty obvious. But for me, with signings like Michael Hector, who's never going to feature for Chelsea, what was the point in signing him? It's just more evidence that Chelsea have no interest, or at least in a first team basis, have no interest of really putting faith in youth. Now, I think when we look at other teams, other big teams in the Premier League, if I just take Manchester City, I do look at Manchester City and feel that for me, long term, they are trying to bring through youth, and you look at the youth academy they've set up. Now, in the next 5 years, if Manchester City bring through more young players than Chelsea do, I think that would be a real indictment and a real negative for Chelsea, that a club like Manchester City, with the way they're structured, the way we are structured, the fact that we have been a richer club or have had investment for longer than them, and the fact that we did build our youth system longer before them, if they somehow now start bringing through youth, I think that's going to be a real negative for Chelsea. The way we fix this short term is by utilising some of the best young players we have at the club. Look at players like Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Ruben Loftus-Cheek is a player that I bring up very often, and he's someone that I almost cry out to play for every game. The reason why is because I believe this is a player who can be the future of Chelsea. This is a player who Chelsea can put their faith in and can make one of the stars of Chelsea for the next 10 years. We overrate young players very much, and I'm not going to sit here and say that Ruben Loftus-Cheek is going to be the best English central midfielder ever. That's not what I'm going to say, because I don't want to put the pressure on Ruben Loftus-Cheek and also try and overhype him, because I know people go, oh, you overhype players too much. That's just not the case. But as we've seen with players like Harry Kane, who at Chelsea would have never gotten a shout, and probably at most clubs, Tottenham gave him that chance. He's now one of the best strikers in the Premier League, being linked to Manchester United, being linked to the biggest clubs in the world. He is banging in goals left, right and centre. Is a key component of why Tottenham are doing so well. So until you pay these players, you will never know how good they are. Ruben Loftus-Cheek has only featured actually 6 times this season in the first team. He's been given 3 starts. Those 3 starts was against Tel Aviv, Walsall and Aston Villa. Other times he's featured off the bench, like Crystal Palace, but other times, more likely, recently, he's been coming off just really to waste time. I think Manchester United was a prime example of this. I was there at Old Trafford. It was one of the most disgraceful things I've ever seen. I think just to bring on a player to waste for 30 seconds really did anger some Chelsea fans. Now, the fact is, Chelsea fans want to get behind young players. We all love to see players of our own come through, if you call it like that. You know, Tottenham fans have that song, Harry Kane is one of our own, and really, I think Chelsea fans would love to see that. that. Love to see a player like Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and the reason we want to see a player like him get given a chance is because we've seen what he can do, along with players like Kennedy Shaw, who isn't an English player, but as well is another young player who's not being utilised, who Chelsea brought in the summer, and whenever he comes on, gives 100%. Whenever he comes on, looks like a player we can develop, and once again, we'll never get development unless we play him. Now, looking at this season, Chelsea are currently 14th, I think, and of course off the basis of Sunday's result, sure, it was an amazing result, and if Chelsea go on to make something of this season, sure, that's a big positive for the first team. Now, if I just look towards Sunday, a game against Scunthorpe in the FA Cup, that is a perfect opportunity for Chelsea to play young players. We've also had Patrick Bamford come back, who we've had at the club for a number of years. Rarely worn the Chelsea shirt. He's been sent out on loan many times, come for our youth system, sent out on loan to MK Dons, Middlesbrough, Derby County, and this season Crystal Palace, where he didn't get barely any game time. But when he has been given game time, he looks like a decent striker. Once again, proving that until you play these players, you will never know how good they are. I have no problem that if Ruben Loftus-Cheek given like 5 or 6 games in the first team, and maybe is shown up as not maybe the player that we need right now, then you send him out on loan. But the point of as well, club, we don't send players out on loan to get them experience, to bring them back to put in our first team. We send players out on loan for a hope that maybe in a few years' time they'll be good enough to sell on, to get more money, to bring other players into the first team. And that for me is a problem. I've said on this channel many times that I do not see the point of buying a player like Paul Pogba. That may sound ludicrous to some, but I don't want to see Paul Pogba come to Chelsea, because all that will do will restrict the game time of a player like Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Paul Pogba are box-to-box midfielders. If a player like Paul Pogba, with all of his quality and potential, comes in for a high price tag, do you really think the next manager, next season for instance, if we buy him in the summer, will play Ruben Loftus-Cheek over Paul Pogba? No, they wouldn't. So that would restrict young players' chances. Now, many criticisms of a manager like Louis van Gaal, which have been granted recently, is the thing is he does trust in youth. Bothwick Jackson he brought on off the bench. Paddy McNair, he's given chances to James Wilson, who's now gone out on loan to get more experience. Jesse Lingard. You know, you can name 4 right there. You cannot name one young player who's come through at Chelsea or has been given consistent chances, and that for me is a real big problem. It's a black mark on Chelsea, and it's one that's not going to benefit us. Could you think if Loftus-Cheek was to come through, get given a chance, play positively, make a chance, like not play every week, but like be a key player in the team, maybe score a couple of goals, that would really excite the fan base, and say in the future, if he was able to make it through to the England team and play as a Chelsea player in the England team, I think that would make a lot of Chelsea fans like myself be more interested and invested in the England team. And as well, it would give the club more good publicity if we were to have a bunch of young English players, or 1 or 2 that are developing, that are playing first team football. Also, I've barely discussed the likes of Charlie Masunda, Izzy Brown, Dominic Solanke, Lewis Baker, John Swift, Ola Aina. Sure, not all of them are going to come through, and I don't expect all of them to come through, but I wanted to see Chelsea show me signs that they do actually care about bringing you through, and I think Chelsea fans would get behind that, and especially considering our recent form and this season, I think Chelsea fans have been crying out for some players who do care about the badge. As I say, this has been a discussion video, and really, I'm sure there are wiser people with more knowledge than me on the club who can tell me their thoughts. But as I say, if you did enjoy this video, leave it a like, share it around with your mates. Let me know your thoughts on the situation. Let me know your thoughts on Chelsea utilising youth. What do you think should be done? Who do you think are the players, other than the ones I've discussed, who should be brought through? And yeah, Chelsea's kind of philosophy with youth. So that has been my thoughts, my take on the situation. Thank you guys as ever for watching this video. You can follow me on Twitter at SonOfChelsea. Also, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you again. Yes, come on, get in. 3-0, Chelsea, smashing Palace. That's what I want to see from Chelsea. Brilliant way to start their year. Oh man, I love 2016.